welcome back to Build Propulsion Lab at DevOps DevOps Belgium 2024. My next guest is Hanno. Welcome, Hanno.
Thank you, Baruch.
Thank you for being here again. You've already been a guest at the Build Propulsion Lab a couple of months ago, and great to have you back.
Thank you.
And so you mentioned that you want to talk about a very interesting and dear to both our hearts, I guess, topic as mentoring upcoming the next generation of public speakers.
Right.
So tell us everything about it.
Yeah, so I do remember when I was starting as a Java software engineer, I really valued the fact that I had someone who noticed the stuff that I was doing, right? And also told me, okay, what you're doing is quite extraordinary. I think people would want to hear about it. And the first time he told me that, I was like, no way, it's not technical enough. Everyone knows about it. But that's like a bias, right? It's a bias that I think everyone has deep inside of them, that the things that we do are not that special. But you never know for sure unless you start sharing about it. And I had a dear colleague of mine who convinced me that it was special enough what I was doing. And it was baby steps, right? So he convinced me just to write a blog post about it. And then he said, that was a good blog post, please do an internal presentation for your coworkers. And I was hesitant, but I did it anyway. And after that session, he came up to me and he said, I was at the conference last week, and this was better than what I saw there. And I was like, those are such comforting words, but also very needed, right? You need to have this validation that what you're doing actually makes sense and that it should have a place somewhere. And I really needed his validating words to be comfortable enough to start even thinking about public speaking. And so, given that experience, it's now 7-8 years later, and I've done a fair bit of public speaking. And I was like, I want to pass it on, you know, this idea.
Very formidable quest.
Right. Because I was thinking the only reason that I got this chance was because I knew this coworker quite well, and I trusted him, and he spent some time with me. So a few years ago, I started a program at InfoSport in the Netherlands, where I work for co-workers to just join a speaker mentoring program and be mentored by experienced speakers. So I gathered a few experienced speakers that also worked for our company and assigned them candidates to the program, and just made sure that everyone followed this program. And I just gave the mentors some tips, like, for example, you could meet with your candidates monthly and ask them how they are doing. And we also set a few goals. So after the first month, every candidate had to decide what he or she wanted to speak on for an internal meetup that was then planned for 2 months later. Then they would do the internal meetup, and I would make sure that a lot of experienced speakers would be there, so they would get a ton of feedback.
This is great. This is very useful. So I think there are two problems. Two barriers.
Right.
The one is internal, and that's what you spoke about.
Yeah.
And I would say it's something in the intersection between imposter syndrome and curse of knowledge.
Right.
From one side, you think that you don't do anything special, and everybody else are doing stuff that is more interesting than you, and that's the imposter syndrome. And the curse of knowledge is this bias that you think that whatever you manage to learn is so trivial that everybody around you already know it. And this combination is absolutely lethal for the desire to do public speaking, because it both promotes like, hey, everybody else is better than me, and also I don't have anything special to say.
Right.
This is internal, and it's interesting to hear what your strategies in battling this one. But there is also external hurdle, which is just a lack of experience and the lack of skill to do public speaking. It's a skill that can be taught and learned and practiced.
Right. It is.
So how do we battle those two hurdles?
Yeah, so I think there are a few things you can do. So first one is find like-minded people, right? People who are public speakers or want to get into those and can regularly convene at certain times and spaces. And a thing that you can get started with immediately is one thing that I do at InfoSupport. It's to organize a talk marketplace. So it's like a sort of an open space, but everyone just shares their ideas for new talks. And I just make sure that both inexperienced and experienced people are there, and we just share ideas and we bounce the ideas off each other. And this is one of the reasons why I did a talk on Monday here at DevVox, which was just a single idea, and I bounced it off other experienced speakers, and they said I would totally attend that talk. If they didn't tell me that, I would not have created the talk.
That's a great way. I wonder if you have any, should I say, like maybe traditional training or learning material about how to become a better speaker that you suggest your mentees to study?
So that is a good question. I don't think we're currently using that. We've got a few presentations lying around that are about the structure of your story and how to start in an abstract way, then do deeper details, and then come up at the end with an abstract summary again, right? Because otherwise you get that whole thing like when a speaker runs over time, you're far too technical, and everyone has like a feeling of that didn't really have an ending. So those kind of tips we share among ourselves. I do like to share the video, I think it's by David Phillips, I can't remember his last name, The Death by PowerPoint. Maybe you've heard it.
That's a great one.
Yeah, so those are some very practical tips about how to structure your slide deck and how to make sure that the mind of your audience doesn't wander off while you're in the midst of a compelling story.
So let me give an advice for those who are embarking on this career.
Right.
There is a wonderful book called Presentation Patterns. And it is written by very prominent speakers in our space, Neil Ford and Nat Nelshuta and Ted. There are different contributors to the book. It's an amazing book. You can find it on. Unfortunately, it was only printed one edition and it was sold out. But you can still find it online on resources like eBay, maybe used, maybe new, but from someone that is solid. One of the most important books that shaped my ability to do public speaking. I really highly recommend it. The fun thing about it is that for us, like software developers, it's particularly appealing because it's structured, you can guess by the name, it's structured as a bunch of design patterns.
Right.
So
that's
it's fun to read, but it's also fun to use because they are reusable chunks of skills that you can combine when creating and delivering a talk. So I really recommend it. Check it out. It's called Presentation Patterns.
I didn't know about it, so I'll definitely check it out.
Yep.
Maybe I can use it. Yeah.
So here you have it, folks. Let's kind of summarize it, bring it home. Hanno, your main advice is like, hey, speak to someone about your maybe desire, maybe your dream of becoming public speaking.
Right.
And that will help you to overcome those internal and external barriers.
Right, and it can be within your own employer, but also within your local JUG. I know a few JUGs that run programs like this. I know the Netherlands Java User Group is running a speaker mentoring program. So find your like-minded people and pitch the idea there.
Excellent. Hanno, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was very, very interesting and useful. And folks, feel free to search for a mentor for your public career, and this is how you get started. And with that, thank you, Hanno.
Okay.
And you all stay tuned for more episodes of the Build Proportion Lab at DevVox Belgium 2024. We have tons of material still coming, so stay tuned.